Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. So I recorded this complete video yesterday, and for some reason the file did not save. So I decided to take another shot at it today, and luckily for me, there has been some more information that came out yesterday that I have included in this video. So here we have it. Sam Bankman-Fried was just spotted earlier today, which was now a couple of days ago, in what appears to be a grocery store in the Bahamas with no security or law enforcement around. Flying fruit knockers down here asking, so is this what under observation looks like? FTX founder and two senior executives were under observation by authorities holed up in a luxurious Bahamas resort owned by Tiger Woods and Justin Timberlake as they plot escape to non-extradition safe haven Dubai. So this is apparently what's going on now, guys. The disgraced founder of FTX is currently holed up in a luxurious Bahamas resort with two of his closest lieutenants as his crypto empire continues to crumble. A new report says that Sam Bankman-Fried is plotting an escape to Dubai, a land with no extradition treaties. The Wall Street Journal reported on Thursday that the U.S. Department of Justice was plotting an investigation into FTX's practices. Bankman-Fried is reportedly with his co-founder Gary Wang and the company's director of engineering Nishad Singh. And just yesterday it was announced that FTX is now filing for bankruptcy, so I am going to touch a little bit on that. Brad Garlinghouse even came out the other day, this courtesy of XRP Crypto Wolf here on Twitter. And this is what he said during a recent interview on CNBC International. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse suggested that the troubled FTX exchange was a fraudulent scheme. The Ripple executive explains that the crypto industry is currently in its formative stage, which is why it attracts all kinds of people, including crooks. And then he goes on to say crypto has never been sunshine and roses. I think crypto as an industry needs to mature. He also stressed that Ripple is extremely transparent, even though it is not regulated as a public company. So we've even got Brad Garlinghouse coming out and, giving his opinion on the matter. Of course, a very diplomatic opinion, as Brad Garlinghouse usually is. And, that's generally the way, a lot of these guys can maintain their success and the public optics of looking good, right? I mean, if you're on the up and up and have nothing to hide, maintaining those optics is really kind of all you have to worry about as a CEO or a public figure. And we're going to get into this a little later in the video, guys. The optics of what is happening with this FTX thing may not be exactly as we've seen, as we've perceived as the public, as the media is conveying the information. So what else are we seeing, guys? This coming from Michael Branch. Despite the constant market volatility, XRP Whale Activity has recently increased. So despite all this, we are actually seeing lots of XRP movement. Despite the constant market volatility, XRP Whale Activity has recently increased, as evidenced by the latest observation of movement involving 528.6 million XRP within a 24-hour period. These whale transactions are consistent with recent index changes that occurred at the beginning of the asset's resurgence. The most recent branch's most significant transaction was an outflow from Binance through a Binance-affiliated address to an anonymous wallet. 350 million XRP, worth about $134.8 million, left Binance on Wednesday, according to the Whale Alert. So that's the other thing we are seeing. We're seeing a lot of XRP traveling. And although people are trying to, not just drain their FTX crypto exchange accounts, also draining other accounts, we've seen an uptick of ledger sales and other cold wallet storage solutions. I have a feeling, and I'm just going on a hunch here, that a lot of these XRP tokens are being used right now as liquidity to move other cryptocurrencies, other assets off exchanges. As we know, BITRUE is a good example of an exchange that has a lot of XRP pairings. But other exchanges do as well, and this is beneficial for XRP holders because a lot of people are purchasing into XRP. Volume is going up, so we're seeing more utility for the XRP token because people realize, well, if I use the XRP cryptocurrency to transfer this value, I know it will get to where I need it to be in under 5 minutes or so, rather than performing the same type of transaction on the Bitcoin network, for example. So, if you have $500,000 worth of Bitcoin and you want to move it fast, well, instead of moving it over the Bitcoin network, just transfer it over to XRP, move that XRP over, convert that XRP back into Bitcoin, and chances are the difference in price that you're going to witness will be marginal, and you might even benefit from that exchange rate. But the trade-off is, and I think this is what a lot of these crypto traders are thinking at this point in time, the trade-off is your cryptocurrency will now be safe off an exchange, in this particular example, onto a cold wallet storage solution. So that's just my hunch why we're seeing a lot of XRP moving right now. It could be for ODL in some cases. However, this XRP that left Binance, chances are that was not the reason for that. So these cold wallet storage solutions are now seeing an uptick. We heard that news from Ledger the other day, and it's not just the FTX exchange that is seeing large outflows of cryptocurrencies. It is other exchanges that are purportedly tied to FTX, but also just exchanges in general. I think this has really shook the industry, and for good reason. I mean, I've been saying this for years now. Get your cryptocurrency off exchanges, put them on a cold wallet storage solution like a Ledger Nano or something similar. And yeah, I have an affiliate link in the description of every video I do. You can use my affiliate. You don't have to use it. Just be mindful, guys. Make sure your crypto is safe. I guess we should look at the price real quickly here. Not really too much to write home about. Bitcoin trading right now at 16,700. We've got the same pattern going on for the XRP chart right now, trading just above 38 cents. So not a lot of trading volume, not a lot of activity right now in the crypto space. Going back to FTX and SBF though, Crypto Law US posted this, okay, you did it after more than 12,500 messages were sent through Connect to Congress since Friday demanding an investigation of the SEC's role in this disaster. They have now reacted. So Chairwoman Waters and Ranking Member McHenry announced December hearing to investigate FTX collapse. They announced a bipartisan hearing into the collapse of FTX and the broader consequences for the digital asset ecosystem. In December, the committee expects to hear from the companies and individuals involved, including Sam Bankman-Fried, Alameda Research, Binance, FTX, and related entities, among others. Now, this is all fine and good. I mean, going back to the optics of this, doesn't this look good for us? Justice for retail holders? Well, guys, what if I told you this was all a facade? And the reason I say that is because of an interview SBF did recently, and some of his responses to the interviewer, somewhat cryptic. However, I have a feeling I understand what he meant when he responded to those. We're going to get to those in a second. The other thing I just wanted to mention, one of the things that I thought I'd add to today's video, after reading that statement that they're going to take a hard line, how can we ignore photographs like this? This is SBF with Maxine Waters. Okay, another photo here with them taking a group photo here as well. So really, I mean, put this into perspective. How much of this is real? How much are they really going to be looking into this? Genevieve Roch-Decter here on Twitter posted a lengthy tweet thread. I actually originally saw her do this in a TikTok video yesterday, and I thought I'd add it into today's video as well because of the updated information that we have now received from the FTX bankruptcy filing. Okay, so here's what she's found. Employees submitted expense reports or reimbursements over chat. A random manager would accept or reject those reimbursements with an emoji. Okay, this is how they ran their business practices. Related party loans. Alameda Research, FTX's hedge fund, gave Sam Bankman-Fried a $1 billion personal loan. They also loaned Director of Engineering Nishad Singh $543 million. Just random money. So here we go. Very few records were kept. Most decisions were made over chat, with the messages automatically deleting after a certain amount of time. FTX, a company valued at $32 billion, okay? So you got to put this into perspective here, okay? This is roughly over three times more than Ripple is worth. $32 billion, never had board meetings, neither did most of their subsidiaries. So a company worth 3 times the amount of Ripple, never having a board meeting, not one, submitting expense reports over chat, managers responding with an emoji, all things that make you wonder what the heck was going on at the top. FTX had no cash management system. Management had no idea how much cash was on hand at any given time, or even if there was cash. FTX didn't keep proper records of who was employed either. Employees and contractors commingled throughout the different companies without proper documentation of how they spent their time. Certain employees can't even be located, which could mean that some employees were in fact fake, and that would not surprise me, to offset expenses. Corporate funds were used to purchase personal use real estate, and employees and executives put their names on homes purchased with company funds. So we heard about that. Sam Bankman-Fried buying up a whole bunch of Bahamas real estate. Crypto deposited by customers weren't even recorded on a balance sheet. Presumably, all crypto assets just went into one central slush fund used for whatever. Like, I mean, how can you even get away with this? There is now a new CEO at FTX, and this was the guy who had to manage or was tasked with managing these corporate restructures. One of the famous ones was the Enron disaster. And he even went on the record and said something along the lines of, "I have never seen such a messy situation and such rampant fraud in my life." Genevieve Roch-Decter continues by saying, the filing makes clear that Sam Bankman-Fried does not speak for the company and that his erratic and misleading public statement should not be disregarded. So this is the latest on the bankruptcy, guys. I want to keep moving. Echoing to what Congress is doing here, I am glad to Republicans and Democrats working together to hold a hearing on FTX. SBF must testify. Read my full statement on FTX and the digital asset ecosystem below. So this coming from Congressman Bill Huizenga, ranking member of the Investor Protection, Entrepreneurship, and Capital Markets Subcommittee. He released the following statement after it was announced the House Committee on Financial Services would hold a hearing on the collapse of FTX. So again, guys, Republicans, Democrats coming together. The optics looks really good. A fantastic opportunity for them to push in cryptocurrency regulatory clarity at this particular moment. Fred Rispoli down here responding, please reread reply tweet from John Deaton and subpoena Mr. Gensler and make sure you put him under oath this time. You forgot to do that during the last hearing. So we have all this big talk from Congress and lawmakers. So this makes the optics look very good. Even Jay Clayton decided to weigh in on this. This from Nerd Nation Unboxed. Our old buddy Jay Clayton was asked today about the FTX debacle. He says it's due to a combination of things. Let me just play you guys this clip here.
It seems like this FTX company, with its founder, has gone far beyond the call of duty. And between his political contributions, it sounds like he was paying for protection.
Mm. You know, all of this, the good thing about the U.S., and we all love the U.S., is that all of this is going to play out, and we're going to get transparency into these things over time. That's the good thing here. And look, I'm going to reserve judgment on just what was done and how bad it was by particular people until we have the facts. But what we all know here is that you shouldn't be sending your money offshore because you know what? You can't get it back when things like this happen.
And a lot of smart people thought there was quick money there to be made, so they all did it. And they've been burned more than once, and they keep getting bailed out. There better not be a crypto bailout.
And it must be a lot of young people that believed in this stuff.
Yeah, look, you have a combination of euphoria, lack of regulation, greed, and on some part, stupidity. And we're all human beings, and we're susceptible to those mistakes. This is why we have strong, transparent regulation around financial products in the U.S. And look, I'm a free market guy, but you can't have a free market unless you have clear rules.
So notice that right at the end there of that clip, Jay Clayton pushing this idea. He says, I'm a free market guy, but you cannot have a free market unless you have the rules in place. Makes a lot of sense that he would say that, supporting all these other members of Congress and their now attempt to investigate FTX because of the situation we are in. But also notice the interviewer at the beginning of this segment. He was saying, talking about FTX, talking about SBF, and alluded to the fact that he was the number 2 donor of the Democratic Party. And so he asked a direct question, which Jay Clayton skirted. And it was, is he buying protection? Well, wouldn't we all like to know the answer to that? As you guys heard here, Jay Clayton did not answer that question directly. Instead, he said, it was a mix between euphoria, greed, lack of regulation, stupidity. However, the United States is a great country, and we can do this. We can make this work. Cryptocurrency is here to stay. We just need to be able to have that regulatory clarity in place. So hitting that point home while managing to avoid that direct question about the sheer and utter corruption that we know is likely occurring. Now, XRP Darren here posted this, a couple of clips basically highlighting the fact that the U.S. is behind the 8 ball on this regulatory clarity and that other G20 countries are already in the game. They've already decided what they are doing. The regulations were already decided by the G20 and the USA has taken its time. FTX is now a catalyst to implement these laws, and Darren does an entire video on this. He links the YouTube link in this tweet, and I'll link this tweet in the description of the video if you want to watch Darren's video. But let me play you guys these clips highlighting just that.
Exchange that's operating abroad. I mean, that's the other piece of this. As long as this is a global business and we have these tokens operating in other places, no matter what, to some degree, it's going to rebound and redound to us.
I mean, this is it's a huge issue. Gary and I participate in a lot of multilateral organizations with other jurisdictions, and crypto regulation has been a high priority for several years right now. You're right, the sort of borderless nature of the technology makes it even harder than traditional financial markets, whether it's on the security side or the derivative side. Certainly swaps markets are very international in nature, but there has to be coordination among the international regulators. Ultimately, though, having a regulatory structure within the U.S., which I think has to be the priority, would then prevent, by law, both on the civil side and the criminal side, of having these, issuers, these exchanges offering services to U.S. customers.
I would sum it up saying that we have an international consensus in the G20 and in the FSB. And the key challenge now is to implement it in each major jurisdiction. We did it in Europe. We have a so-called MiCA regulation, including for stable coins. The so-called crypto winter of early 22 should not be an excuse for complacency. On the contrary, it's time to act.
So on that IMF panel, these guys are discussing that there is regulatory clarity. They have the MiCA rules in Europe. But in order to implement everything seamlessly and to make everything work, every jurisdiction needs to be on board. And quite frankly, I think it's fairly obvious. The United States is a very important jurisdiction to get on board in order to implement more meaningful cryptocurrency utility worldwide. And we're just not there yet. And so, when these guys are saying, the fall of FTX, it's really going to give us, impetus to implement some cryptocurrency regulatory clarity, it's really them just dragging their feet. I mean, they could have been doing this as quickly as Europe has been doing it, but they have basically decided against it. Another thing with regards to cryptocurrency regulatory clarity in Europe specifically, I also saw this, guys. EU is moving to ban privacy coins. So all within the same type of narrative of limiting the retail investor. And so what would complement that? Obviously, the introduction of central bank digital currencies. Some of the key takeaways here: the European Union reportedly has plans to restrict or ban the use of privacy coins in its jurisdiction. The thinking behind the potential ban appears to be primarily concerned with money laundering. As on-chain surveillance becomes more sophisticated and legislators on both sides of the Atlantic become increasingly vigilant, the case for privacy-preserving cryptocurrencies is ever more apparent. And, of course, the cryptocurrencies that they're looking to ban include Monero, Zcash, and Dash. So 3 privacy coins where transactions, you cannot trace them. You do not know who holds these coins. And, the transactions are actually anonymous. So is it any secret that they're also pushing this type of thing through, along with the MiCA rules? Meanwhile, they want the U.S. to get on board, but the U.S. dragging their feet. Now, that brings me to this, guys, courtesy of Sentosumo Saba at Crypto Eddie here on Twitter. Sam Bankman-Fried gave a Twitter DM interview to the Vox. Any media that wants to be taken seriously and avoid publishing sugary puff cereal must read this. So, he apparently did a DM interview over Twitter or over some kind of social media with Kelsey Piper, okay? She had access to Sam Bankman-Fried because she had recently written an article on FTX earlier in the summer. And so he revealed some interesting things here, a cryptic interview to say the least, which does get me thinking, guys, that there are higher up making these decisions. So she says, you said a lot of stuff about how you wanted to make regulations, just good ones. Was that pretty much just PR as well? So Sam Bankman-Fried was basically stating a lot of his responses, a lot of the answers that he gave in public, he just gave because of public relations reasons. Or PR reasons. He says there's no one really out there making sure good things happen and bad things don't. Okay. He goes on to say, usually there's only one toggle, do more or do less. Yeah, just PR. And then he writes, F regulators. They make everything worse. They don't protect consumers at all. Piper goes on to write, does seem like some kind of customer protection would be good though. Like maybe regulators can't deliver it, but sure does look like some consumers lose their shirts a bunch. And then he writes, agreed on both. It would be good, but regulators just can't do it. And you couldn't do it. And CZ sure isn't doing it. So who? Then he writes this, okay, they can't actually distinguish between good and bad. He goes back to this point here. Just do more business versus do less business, and put up more moats versus put up fewer moats. No one will. But you want to know the truth. No one's doing it in the rest of finance either. or for that matter, other areas that are regulated. The FDA isn't helping. The giant crackdown on big tech has no point or goal or philosophy behind it. OFAC is slowly undermining U.S. interests globally. Okay? And the OFAC, guys, is the Office of Foreign Assets Control. Part of the Treasury Department. It administers and enforces economic and trade sanctions to support the U.S. national security and foreign policy objectives. So, he's saying here that this has been undermining U.S. global interests and is the single biggest threat to the U.S. being a superpower. So, could the powers that be have an influence on this? ESG, he goes on to say, has been perverted beyond recognition. And for those of you guys who do not know what ESG is, ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance. Investors are increasingly applying these non-financial factors as part of their analysis process to identify material risks and growth opportunities. So businesses are making decisions to invest in companies or not based on their environmental, their social impact on society. And this has been pushed. We know that this is a big WEF talking point. And so Sam Bankman-Fried, it's sounding as though in a cryptic way, he is outing the rot that is in government currently, putting U.S. interests aside and towing the line for the powers that be or globalist elites. And the rot extends, guys, to Sam Bankman-Fried's mother. Another tweet here that I just happened to see today that I thought I'd add into this video. 9 years ago, when crypto fraudster Sam Bankman-Fried was 19, his mother, a Stanford professor, wrote a very long article making the case that free will is a myth and that we should not blame people for committing crimes. I'll link this in the description of the video for you. I'm not going to read it. Also, I wanted to bring this up, guys, from Kim.com. Okay, so it gets even more interesting because we have the CEO from Binance included in this story. This is Nouriel Roubini, okay, economics professor. He's always been a critic of crypto. And he is saying CZ Binance is a walking time bomb. Binance is banned in the UK and is under investigation by the US Justice Department for $8 billion in money laundering. He should be kicked out of this country, which in this case, he's doing the interview from the UAE. Listen to this.
Unfortunately, this is an ecosystem that is totally corrupt. Unfortunately, it is, and I think the lesson of the last few weeks is these people should be out of here. I can't believe that CZ and Binance has a license to operate in the UAE. Is banned in the UK, is under investigation by the US Justice Department for money laundering, $8 billion money from Iran. And he's here on this stage and he has residence in this country. The regulator should be thinking carefully. That's a walking time bomb, okay? So if you invested in us, it's a walking time bomb. You should be kicked out of this country, should not be allowed to operate. I'm sorry to say. It's gonna get worse than some big and free, okay? So if you invested in Atlas,
a walking time bomb, you say. Kim.com continues here by saying, ever since I started talking about the role of CZ Binance in the collapse of FTX, I received messages from insiders who worked closely with CZ and Binance. One of them revealed to me it was either FTX or Binance going down. A story about power, hubris, greed, and survival. So, was this the plan all along, to take down one of the big two, namely Binance or FTX? And it just so happened that CZ played his hand first. Kim.com continues by saying, why do I care? With billions worth of user deposits lost and dramatic stories about people losing their life savings and committing suicide and the broader impact on the crypto community, it is important that the role of CZ Binance in the FTX fiasco is investigated. I've decided to create a team of professionals to put the puzzle pieces together and then to release a public report to the crypto community if you have insider knowledge or evidence that you think is relevant. And then he gives an email address for you guys to contact. So the rot runs deep, guys. Superpower elites like the WEF controlling the game. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.